I am beating every N64 game, and I mean all of them. The twist is, the next game I play is randomly selected, so I have no clue what's coming next. This is the journey to beating every N64 game. Game number 181, Tetrisphere. Released in 1997, this game was developed by H2O Entertainment and published by Nintendo. I'd heard of this game, but only because some of its music gets used in Super Mario World ROM hacks. This is the same dev that made the new Tetris, and that was pretty fun. I've historically been kinda bad at puzzle games, so hopefully this isn't too hard. Based on the name, it seems like we're going to be playing Tetris in 3D. Probably going to get confusing. Let's get into it. There was a tutorial, but who needs those? I want to jump right in. The game has 5 modes: Rescue, Hide and Seek, Puzzle, Time Trial, and Versus Computer. I went with Rescue since it was first. Alright, so as you might imagine, the game takes place on a big sphere. There are some colored shapes that you're supposed to place matching shapes alongside. 3 of the same ones or more will make them disappear. If you make 3 mistakes, you lose, which I did very quickly. Sometimes there's no piece, but just a dot. This is a wild piece, so it can match with any of them. At this point in playing, I was still quite confused, but I felt like I wasn't too bad so far. The goal is to break enough pieces to free the robot in the middle, hence the name Rescue Mode. Despite still not knowing much of what was going on other than moving the sphere and placing pieces, I beat level 2. I'm sure like most puzzle games, it's going to start extremely easy, then become the hardest thing I've ever seen. It's actually kind of annoying watching this footage back now with how good I got by the end of this. I wasn't sure how I got it at this point, but I had a dynamite magic attack. This lets you launch it at the sphere and take out a huge chunk of pieces, regardless of their shape. By the time I got to level 7, there were these corner-shaped pieces, which made it a bit harder to notice where they could go. If it's symmetrical, like a square or an L, that's fine, but this is a bit trickier to detect. Level 8 had S-shaped pieces, and 9 had T-shaped pieces. The rules for these are if they're touching rather than if they line up perfectly, because that'll never happen unless it's vertically. Honestly, it's kind of hard to explain the rules of what make pieces line up. You just kind of get a feel for it after playing for a while. Still, all I was doing at this point was moving around and placing pieces. It'll get a bit crazier soon. On level 10, I accidentally got a gigantic combo, over 20 pieces. Doing this yields a magic attack. The other way to get one is by finding an orange orb somewhere within the sphere. That's how I was getting them before. Upon clearing level 10, the game informed me I passed episode 1 and was on to episode 2. I wonder how many there are. Level 5 of episode 2 showed the game can start to get a bit harder. This time the robot in the sphere was way bigger, so I had to clear a ton of space to free it. I kept thinking I'd done enough, but nope, there was always at least one tile in the way. It was in this level that I finally learned a basic and crucial mechanic of the game, that you can move pieces. The S piece was the only thing blocking the robot, so I moved it out of the way to free it. This is just the tip of the iceberg with moving though. It's so useful. For now though, I was still an absolute noob at the game. It was good enough to keep winning in these early stages. Every time you unlock magic, it upgrades in power. At level 4, you get the Atom magic, which is just nuts. It essentially deletes every piece that is considered on the outer layer, which gave me an instant win. Into level 10 of episode 2 now, misplacing a piece isn't the only way to lose a life. There's a timer in the bottom right, and as it ticks down, the camera zooms closer and closer to the sphere. If you run out, you lose a life, and it quickly zooms back out. The further you get, the less time you get. The glowing pieces are called power pieces, and they have a chance to appear when you get a combo between 4 and 19. They greatly increase the timer as well as disappear slower, so it makes it easier to get big combos. As long as the previous pieces haven't stopped disappearing, you can place another one to continue the combo. It's not like you have to make it all happen with a single drop. This was a hefty 53 combo. Kinda crazy. Episode 3 was where it started to get a bit tough, at least for a beginner. These odd-shaped pieces can be really tricky to find a place to fit sometimes. Especially when there's so many layers of the sphere, you've really got to have good depth perception in regard to dropping things in. Level 5 of episode 3 was where it got really crazy. This was the first time there were 3 different types of shapes I had to deal with. This just meant that it'd be that much harder to find a place to lay something. Now with less real estate for valid moves, I had to get used to sliding. Here I moved the blue tile on top of another to create a place for the one I'm holding to go. And here I slide the blue piece over the other pieces to find a spot for it. As long as it's only a 1 tile difference, you can climb over the others. but not always. Only the power pieces can do that. I don't know, you just kind of get a feel for it as you play more. As long as it's the same type as the one you're wanting to lay, you can attempt to move it. So yeah, I was getting decent at noticing good times to slide pieces at this point. This yellow tile is isolated all alone and it can easily be brought to the lower level. It would have never gotten used otherwise. Also, the power yellow pieces kind of look like the grossest frozen french fries ever. I can't unsee it. Level 7 in episode 3 brought a new change. There were no straight pieces, no lines or cubes. The puzzles aren't randomly generated or anything like that, they're the same levels you'd get on every playthrough, so you know they're designed to be cleared cleanly. Still, it's definitely easier to notice moves on the standard pieces over these kinds. I was sort of noticing another use for sliding pieces now as well. When you move them, they destroy any of the standard purple blocks in their path. If another playable piece is in the way, you can't move it, but those generic ones, plow them out of the way to take it where you'd like. This is good because it helps you move it to a desirable location, but also reveals the next layer, which can lead to even more plays that wouldn't have happened otherwise. Or here, I realized I can slide pieces as much as I want. These yellow tiles are all kinda jumbled, but by sliding them into a more ordered fashion, it clears more of the sphere and gives a bigger combo. Okay, it's wild how a game this complex is so intuitive to just pick up and play. The final thing I learned about sliding is you don't have to access the entire piece to slide it. Here I grabbed this red one, even though the yellow appears to be on top of it. I believe it's because it's not directly on top, but actually one layer up. You get used to identifying which ones will work. Also, I slid the red piece around like crazy to clear all the purple junk blocking the robot. It wouldn't have went away otherwise. I'll take this time to talk about the graphics and audio. The graphics are decent, considering this is an early N64 title. The game runs smooth, and that's the main thing. It's very colorful, which is good for Tetris. For the audio, you constantly hear the sound effects of pieces breaking, and I just kind of ended up tuning it out. The music is great. It's old school techno like you'd expect to hear from something out of the 90s. I'd highly recommend looking up the soundtrack for this game and checking it out. There's a lot of neat stuff in there. It was in level 4 of episode 4 that I had my first game over. Got a bit too comfortable and was trying to go too fast. Unfortunately, you lose your score when you do, but you can just start over on the same level. I was kind of crushing it at this point. None of the levels were stopping me. Sure, I wasn't playing perfect, but I was beating everything first try, except for the time I ran out of lives. On to episode 5, and it said if I beat this, then I'll have a great ending. Aw man, are we at the end already? It took nearly 10 minutes to get through level 1 of episode 5. Well, it would have if I didn't get my second game over. Sometimes it says you had a valid move, but then a previous combo drops the elevation of a piece, causing it to no longer work. Unfortunate. Man, you could really tell how much harder it gets here. I feel like the other piece layouts were generally similar, but the timer was just so much less forgiving here. I kind of love how it zooms in the less time you get though. It makes it so stressful. That stress kicks in even more when you're frantically searching all over the sphere for a place to lay a single T-piece. Like, cut me a break. There's nowhere for it to go. Or you can take matters into your own hands and drag a piece halfway across the sphere to force it to fit. All the spheres in episode 5 had 3 types of pieces. The tutorial was over. Time to really get going. Not too many game overs, and I was on level 10 of episode 5. This sphere was packed to the max. When I placed a piece on the outer layer, it showed red X's indicating this was the max height a piece could go. If that hadn't been a valid move and I tried to place another in the same spot, it just wouldn't work. You can kind of see how deep it goes when I use this dynamite magic. Still can't see the robot despite so much being destroyed already. Not to mention how freaking massive the robot is in this one. I've practically taken an entire hemisphere out of this thing and it still doesn't matter. Let it out! Thankfully, if you have magic, it's like a get out of jail free card. It shows some kind of weird cutscene where our robot is celebrating, then a female robot shows up and they fall in love. Aww, how cute. And then the credits play. Oh, I guess we beat it. Oh snap, there's an episode 6. Yeah, turns out that's like the any % ending. I guess maybe they thought the game would get too hard or something? There are actually 10 total episodes in the game, and you could call that the true ending. Well, I decided to clear all 10 of them. I was having fun. But first, I went back to the training to see if there was anything else to learn in the advanced ones. It talks about a gravity combo where you slide a piece, causing an upper one to fall. This is a way to clear pieces without actually laying anything, which is pretty cool. I found it near impossible to find any of these during play though. Anyway, time to go on to episode 6. You might be thinking it's going to get harder from here, but it honestly didn't. Still the same 3 unique pieces. I think the timer got shorter, but it's essentially the same as episode 5. I made it to episode 7 without any trouble. It told me I'd get a code if I finished the bonus levels. I was already planning to, but now I really want to. Yeah, the difficulty didn't really change in any of these. It was still fun though. Episode 8 said this was the final victory, and if I beat it, I gain access to the bonus episodes. I crushed episode 8 and it plays a rather odd cutscene where our robot comes out onto a stage with some pieces in the background. Some kind of evil robot shows up and knocks us to the side and steals the show. Then we get yanked off stage. Our robot's girl chases that one off, but then another shows up. Who the heck are all these guys anyway? After that finishes, the credits play for a second time. 2 endings for the price of 1. Well, it kept going. Episode 9 and it told me only true Tetrisphere champions should try this one. Hey, that sounds like me. Yeah, it was still kind of the same as the other ones. 3 unique pieces, can't get any bigger on the sphere. I guess the timer was more strict, but that was about it. In fact, I one-shot the first level of episode 9. Maybe I am a Tetrisphere champion after all. In fact, I was one-shotting all of these levels. If you want to see full gameplays of any of these N64 playthroughs, I upload the full streams to my alt channel, Thabeast Plays, which is linked in the description of all these videos. You can see how much of a grind these really are. Note, there are definitely spoilers for future games chosen there though. And hey, while I'm at it with self-promotion, I stream these games live on Twitch Wednesday through Sunday from 6:30 p.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern. And after destroying all those, it told me I could input my name as Lines for a hidden game. The final challenge of episode 10 awaits. To my surprise, the first level of it only had 2 types of pieces. I was a bit concerned something weird was going to happen, but nope, it was just a simple sphere with a very tight timer. My suspicions ended up being true though. At level 8 they introduced 4 pieces on one sphere for the first time. Basically just far less valid moves than I've been used to for the last 7 hours. Oh yeah, the timer is still incredibly tight too, by the way. Yeah, I'd love to say I one-shot the level, but that definitely didn't happen. Hadn't even revealed a piece of the robot yet. Luckily this robot was quite small, so I didn't have to make too big of a hole. Level 9 only had 3 pieces again. Weird they jumped back like that. Only took like 3 tries to take down level 8. The final level remained. As expected, it jumped back to 4 types of pieces once again. Honestly, the blue cube was the hardest one for me to deal with. It just felt like they never lined up as well as the others, and they take up so much space. Now, you can see by the timer on screen, it took me about 8.5 hours to get this far. How long could one final level take? Well, this level is hard. Like, real hard. Like, having 4 different colors is already rough. This level has the shortest timer of any. Because I had to go so quickly, I'd often find myself just misplacing the pieces. It's definitely rough to know you were 1 D-pad move away from saving the run. Like, it's just constantly zoomed into the max on this sphere. It is so much harder to find a move when there's 4 rather than 3. You can see the sheer size and complexity of this sphere here. It truly was the ultimate test. After literally 7 hours of grinding, I'd done it. One final level took nearly as long as the previous 99. It plays a similar cutscene to the last one and says the end when it's done. Man, beating that level was such a grind. There would be so many times where I'd have the robot basically free, but I just couldn't finish off one last little block in the way. I felt so much relief when I was done. Well, that was the main mode of the game, but I decided to investigate the others a bit. Next was hide and seek mode. All the robots are standing around saying they want to play hide and seek. They think it'll be more fun if they design some puzzles to solve in order to find each other. This mode is essentially the same as rescue mode, but with different gimmicks on each sphere. Like here, there are these bricks on the outside that I have to cause to drop to the center. I'm not sure if the credits roll for beating any of these other modes, but this one also has 100 levels. Then I looked into the puzzle mode. These are preset layouts of spheres that you have to fully clear with a limited number of slides and drops. There are 100 of these in total too. I imagine it gets really hard near the end. I much prefer the active puzzle solving of rescue mode over this kind of static puzzle with a single solution. But it's really cool, there's multiple ways to play the game. There was also that secret mode I unlocked by setting my name to lines. This is essentially rescue mode, but with a twist. You can't drop pieces. The only way to make a combo is by sliding. However, if you line up 3 of the same piece in a row, it auto-destroys it. I didn't like playing this way. One final thing is this game has a rather odd cheat code. If you enter your name as Vortex, then hold the reset button, it plays this weird animation at the start. I think it's especially unique that the game can detect you holding the reset button, like it overpowers the N64 wanting to turn the game off. I didn't even realize that was a thing the N64 could do. But yeah, that's about all there is for this one. Game complete. So yeah, there you have it. My journey to beating Tetrisphere. This is such a wild game, but I'm here for it. I don't know how someone comes up with this idea, honestly. It's unlike anything I've ever played. I was able to pick the game up knowing nothing and do really well quickly. I think it does a great job at teaching the player how to play while making them feel skilled even from the beginning. With 100 levels in several modes, it would take a very long time to fully finish the game, so you've got a lot of content to go through. Apparently there's a versus multiplayer mode and it's kind of a weak point. Lucky for us, this series is about single player. The music is top tier and it doesn't get old to listen to at all. Probably my favorite puzzle game I've ever played, although I haven't played a lot of them. I gave Tetrisphere a 10 out of 10 for enjoyability and a 9 out of 10 for difficulty. That final level was incredibly tough. Alright, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. We had a randomized marble race to determine which game was next, so here's how that played out. Or skip to the timestamp on screen to skip straight to the game selection. Alright, we'll play a random track. MSLA. Average time 85 minutes. Okay, we're not playing that. And they're all here. Even Rampage World Tour and International Superstar Soccer and Wheel of Fortune. GoldenEye. Let's see what we're playing. 3, 2, 1, go. Alright, they are off. Slowly approaching this hole, but not quite committing to it yet. It's a little scary down there. And let's see who made the first move. It is Bassmasters 2000, which I am sure is such a fun game. Fighting Force 64, Cruisin' USA I see as well. Mickey Speedway. We're going through these loop-de-loops. It's like we're in Sonic the Hedgehog or something. And Kirato Kaiketsu is down, whatever the heck that is. We're not playing that. And Bassmasters still, no, Mickey Speedway now in the lead. Bassmasters surging forward though, just such force. The cameraman can't even keep up. He's using the boost to cheat. And Cruisin' USA is now in the lead. Golden Nugget 64, sorry, is in the lead. I think that's like a casino game. Shadowgate 64 now ahead. Cruisin' USA just behind. Shadowgate and Cruisin' USA battling it out. Susume Taisen Puzzle Dama. Mario Party 2 coming through as well. And Cruisin' and Shadowgate both getting held up by one of these pegs. And let's see who's coming out here. Shadowgate 64 in the lead, but hits another peg. But it appears everybody else did as well. Jeremy McGrath Supercross now in second. Shadowgate 64 getting quite a big lead despite a poor performance there coming through the pegs. And Shadowgate 64 going over those speed bumps, and Mario Party 2 is down, folks. And there's not much left. Shadowgate 64 only has a couple obstacles left. And we'll see if Shadowgate can clutch this out. Hits a peg and gets completely throttled. This gives the other games a chance to catch up. Shadowgate 64 getting held up once again, and Doom 64 surging in from out of nowhere. And it's Doom 64 in the comeback of a century. Shadowgate had it in the bag and just could not finish. Doom 64 capitalizing on that just critical error. And Shadowgate's got to be kicking themselves after this one. What a mistake. And somehow this game's cruising way back here. What in the world? Doom 64. It has been decided. But yeah, if you're still here watching, you're awesome. Thank you so much. If you had a good time, consider hitting that like button, or maybe even dropping a subscription. Or hey, maybe even watch another one of these videos that's on screen now. And yeah, see you next time.